Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement. Your no-hype source for financial advice and making informed choices about your retirement plan. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Well, hello, St. Louis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement, your live and local St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. Unfortunately, it's not the yard sale this morning. We've had to bump them for pending Mizzou game coming up in about 2 hours, but if you are a new listener, hang with us. We're talking about financial planning, retirement planning, and if you happen to be 65 or approaching 65, we're also going to be talking about Medicare planning today because open enrollment is 3 days from kicking off.
And we can actually talk about the new plans now, so that's great.
That's right, 12 days into being able to discuss what your options are for 2025. So that will be a big chunk of what we do this morning with you. And I'm Erin Lapidus. I'm the president of JBL Financial Services. I'm joined this morning by Robert Markham, my husband, and our life insurance and fixed annuity sales specialist.
Good morning.
Good morning. We help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step strategy, a real game plan with several goals in mind. First is to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have worked their entire lifetimes to accumulate.
Second is to deliver a reliable income stream they can count on so they can do all the things they want to do in retirement.
And third is cost-effectively addressing their healthcare needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to couple with their Medicare coverage. Then, when they're done enjoying their assets, we help them pass them along to the people they love, whether it's their children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, without Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, we watch their money every single day. And that's why they call us the retirement coaches. Good morning.
It is a good morning.
It's a good early morning. I hope if you happen to be observing, you are kicking off an easy fast this morning. If you happen to be Jewish, I know that's what my dad is doing this morning. But we're here with you because, like we mentioned, it's open enrollment, so this is an important time of year for many of our listeners, many of our clients. And for those of you that might be new listeners, please, there are many ways that you can keep in touch with us throughout the week. If you happen to like what you hear, you can log on to our website, jblfinancial.com. In the upper right-hand corner, there's a Contact Us button. You can ask a question, request a coaching session, financial, Medicare, or both. Or in the lower left-hand side of the screen, you can click the pop-up box that appears, and it says sign up for our monthly newsletter. We call it the Coach's Corner. Rob writes them and keeps them up to date every single month. So, Rob, we're in the, second weekend of October?
You say it like that, and it'll be over really soon.
Right, we're basically at Christmas.
Just speed running this year. But
it does feel like a fever dream.
Yes, we do have the October 24 newsletter up and posted for your reading perusal. And we got some great articles in there. The first one being Vanishing Family Farms. There is a decades-long consolidation in the U.S. agriculture industry that is pushing out small family farms. Little fun fact from the article. The largest 2% of farms, we're talking about farms that are 500 acres or more, control almost half of the nation's farmland, and that's up from 35% just a few years ago.
That's pretty significant. I'm sure that has to do with the price of farmland, and also as families age and pass their farms on to new generations, there might not be as much desire to continue the farm life. It can be difficult.
Labor intensive, and it's a lot. It's sun up to sundown. It can be. So, I mean, it's not, we've heard anecdotally how exhaustive it can be from some of our clients.
That's
and,
right.
You know, they've inherited some farmland, and it's work.
Yep. We thought it was a great article because we know Illinois has some of the best farmland in the country.
Yeah, you've said that on several occasions. Missouri does not. Not as good.
Not nearly as good.
Got to be on the right side of the river.
Mm-hmm.
And our next article, do you know your Medicare coverage? We're going to be spending a lot of time on this subject in the back half of the hour, but I thought this was a great article to add in, given the month that we find ourselves in. This is a great article. It gives you an overview of original Medicare, Medicare Advantage, and annual open enrollment, which we're going to be getting into on the back half of this hour.
Great primer article if you're not quite Medicare eligible yet and you want a nice tutorial on what a lot of the things we're talking about mean or what your friends have started to talk about. Some nice definitions in there and a nice beginner jumping off point to give you some information on Medicare.
And the next article for your perusal is, if you don't have a will yet, why not? A will is a fundamental estate planning document. It is vital to making sure your wishes are executed properly. Yet this article explores some of the top reasons people put off drafting this important document. And some of the top three that I highlighted, they haven't gotten around to it. Now is not the right time. Well, when is the right time? And my personal favorite, family dynamics are complex, which is a nice way of saying there'll be hell to pay. So
That's true. I think we have this conversation frequently, especially when we are talking about end-of-life decisions. So we're talking about creating a will that usually contains the medical directive.
And your durable power of attorney. God forbid you get incapacitated. You know, we got to make sure that the lights stay on, that the bills stay paid, and there has to be someone designated to be able to carry out those functions.
Absolutely. Or when we're talking about long-term care options for clients, it could be a difficult conversation because that means you have to think about you not being here. Or you have to think about yourself in a position that most people do not want to think about, which is that they're still here, but they can't conduct their affairs the way that they would like to any longer. So although it can be a difficult thing to think about, it's important because as we approach those times is not when you want to be making those decisions. You want to do that with a clear head in advance so your family or your friends or whomever you'll have helping you at that point will be able to do alleviate some of the stress of the decision making because you've made the choices and they know what your wishes are, which is important.
And the dynamics will always be complex, but these are my wishes. I'm putting them in writing over my signature, and that's that.
Right.
You got to have it.
Absolutely.
And our next article: 2 tax-friendly retirement plans for the self-employed. And this article highlights solo 401ks, which are a one-person participant plan for business owners who have no employees. You can sock away $23,000 a year pre-tax, $30,500 with catch-up contributions. You're also eligible to contribute another 20% of your earnings for a combined total of $69,000. But with those catch-up provisions, it actually maxes out at $76,500. So that's a sizable contribution for a solo 401k. And our next option would be a SEP IRA, which is very similar. It has many of the same contributory rules, with the caveat that the most you can sock away into a SEP IRA is $69,000. They are not eligible for catch-up contributions, so that's one small nuance. And others being
you could have more employees than just one, or than just none.
Exactly.
We like to throw these articles in every once in a while because many individuals that we work with are self-employed or small business owners, and we find that they are under the impression that there's only one savings vehicle available for them. You know, if you do not work for a larger employer, you don't have access to a 401k or a simple IRA, 403b, 457 plan, that an IRA is what you have available. And it's nice to let people know that they have quite a few options available, especially to start ramping up savings for retirement. Another important thing that we often discuss with small business owners is that they tend to have the majority of their wealth tied up in the business. So their plan would be, either to sell it when they're ready to retire to create the capital, or to have an income stream as they sell it over an extended period of time. And this might be an alternative to begin to build some excess wealth outside of the business as they begin to approach retirement. So it's always nice to add some extra little educational pieces in, and we try to do that every single month. Nothing ever to buy or sell in our newsletter, just interesting information that we hope is not just generational for individuals heading into retirement, but could possibly be multi-generational for the family.
That would be a great newsletter. We could call it Tomorrow's News Today. And we'll give you our top 10 recommendation. That would not fly with compliance, I don't think.
I don't think predicting the future is compliant for FINRA or the SEC.
It would be every month you have October's and November, you could take a look back to see how you did. Oh, it would be great.
We're charting new territory here
I
at
have
JPL
ideas,
Financial. Put them to work. All right. Well, we have a lot of things on our mind this morning, but what's more important is what's on yours. So please give us a call, 314-931-5877, if you have a question this morning about your 401k, about retirement, about estate planning, document preparation for your estate, potentially Medicare. We're here to answer those questions, or you're always welcome to text us at 84126 on the text line.
We really do appreciate those texts. So
if you're thinking about it, we know others are thinking about it. So let's get everyone an answer for those questions.
Absolutely.
So while we're waiting for your text, 84126, or your phone calls, I know you haven't forgotten, 314-931-5877, we're going to get to our first text. You ask and they just deliver.
Love how that works.
Great listeners.
Our first texter writes, married female, 56 years old. I have a home not paid off yet. 401k is the only thing I have. What do I need to focus on? Hello.
I think...
I wish I had a little bit more color to...
You're allowed to, slightly edit the texts for,
I like to...
just read verbatim. I love it.
As they put it. But I wish I had a little bit more color there. I'd like to know how much you have to pay down on the house, how much is what the mortgage is. Are there any other debts? Are there any other capital needs? How much is in your 401k? What are you spending? There's a lot of variables that go into that. But not knowing any of that, I would say maybe eliminating between now and the time you plan on retiring or don't want to work anymore, let's clear the deck of all debts as best we can.
Certainly. I think that you make a great point. We don't have all of the information on our texter, which is okay because we rarely do. But I would say let's put this into a hierarchy in terms of planning for your financial future. The first thing that we always want to focus on is that you have an emergency fund. So have you created some after-tax savings for yourself that's at a local bank? Maybe it's at a money market account where you're earning a little bit of extra interest, but it's easily accessible. And what that's going to do is help you avoid what Rob just mentioned, which is creating any additional debt for yourself. You have an emergency that comes up. Someone has an emergency that comes up and you'd like to be able to help them. Hot water heater breaks, tires need to be replaced, whatever the case may be. You don't want to have to put that on the credit card or dip into a retirement account in order to meet that emergency. So you always want to start with an emergency fund. Then it sounds like our texter is doing an excellent job. You want to create pre-tax savings for yourself, and that is what she's doing through her 401k contributions.
Getting those deductions, it's important.
Absolutely. You want to take the deductions while you're working. Current deductions are always more valuable than the hope of future lower tax payments. So my first recommendation there would be, have you maxed out your 401k? If you're 56, that means you have the eligibility to make those catch-up contributions. So, Rob, what's a maximum 401k contribution for the year?
$30,500.
So if you are already hitting that $30,500 in your 401k, then you've hit step 2. You've got you've got your emergency fund in place. You have maxed out your retirement plan savings through your employer, or, if you're self-employed, like we mentioned, maybe through yourself. And then the thing I would move on to is, Rob makes a great point. You can do this in one of two ways. You can either say, let's accelerate paying the house off, clear the decks of our debt, or maybe we split the difference and let's slightly accelerate those mortgage payments and also begin to create a bucket of after-tax investable assets. So now many of our clients, and this is true for, I think, the vast majority of people heading into retirement over the last 10 years, is that we all followed conventional wisdom. Stuff as much money as possible into those pre-tax accounts. You get the current tax deductions, you get the match from your employer, and that's going to be the fastest road to get you to retirement. I don't disagree with all of those sentiments, but oftentimes we leave out the other opportunity, which is, hey, let's create some after-tax savings for ourselves so we have flexibility in retirement, meaning we have more than one place to pull money from. We can moderate our tax bracket over time, and we can have more options when we're no longer receiving that paycheck.
And one other comment I wanted to make to the married female, 56, is you do have something else besides your 401k. You have Social Security.
That will be coming eventually,
right.
Absolutely.
So it's not like it's just you and whatever savings you've cobbled together in your 401k. No, you have Social Security that's going to back you up to a certain amount. And, let's just, for nice round numbers, say you, after taxes, they deposit $4,000 into your account, and that's what you live on every month. Well, say Social Security comes in when it's time to elect, and they're willing to say, hey, we're going to come in with $2,000. So now we only have a $2,000 deficit to make up. So what seemed daunting from the front end, when we start to unpack it, becomes very manageable.
That's a great point that much of the literature does not point out when we're discussing how do you save and plan for retirement, especially when your runway starts to become shorter at 56. Usually people are saying, hey, I want to work less than a decade longer. Goal is to be out in that 65 range. Well, when we get to that point, what does it really look like? And having to replace 100% of your paycheck would seem like a daunting task. But the nice thing is you've already been doing that your entire working career as you've been paying that Social Security tax. They've been, setting that aside to give back to you in retirement. And like Rob mentioned, that can make a significant portion of what your income replacement need is going to be in retirement.
And if you ever want to just get a snapshot of what your Social Security is right now, you can always create an account on ssa.gov, and sign in and get a snapshot of where you are now. Now, don't get freaked out by the number because you still have 10 more years of work, or at least 5.
It's a nice projection, though, and they will project out for you all the way up until 70. So they'll start at 62, go up till 70 based on your current working record. At 56, that would be a good time to start taking a look. We definitely have individuals that come in and chat with us because they're between, hopefully within 5 to 7 years of retirement.
Absolutely. So it's one of those things where you have some things to work on, but you also have some things working in your favor.
Fantastic base already set up, and I think that our first text leads us into our topics for the morning. But before we get to our topics, our rock stars of the week, let's take our first break of the hour.
Let's. So don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more Straight Talk on Retirement.
The opinions you hear on KTRS are those of the host, callers, and guests, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or owners. If you have comments or suggestions, contact us at ktrs.com. Thanks for listening.
The Irish Gypsy Bar and Grill invites you to come in and enjoy phenomenal food, drinks, and service. Try the incredible tender, mouth-watering steak sandwich, the best Reuben egg rolls in town, or their fried pretzel sticks with Guinness beer cheese sauce. Daily drink and beer specials, adult trivia Mondays, music bingo on Tuesdays, NFL Sunday ticket, and the MLS package on one of their 8 TVs or their 150-inch big screen. Open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 1-ish a.m. 21 and older after 6 p.m. The Irish Gypsy Bar and Grill, 1250 Bryan Road in O'Fallon, Missouri. Check them out online at theirishgypsybar.com.
Before you put your home on the market, before you have to pay money fixing it up to sell it, before you have to pay real estate commissions, call me. I'm Mike Robinson with Robank Properties, and I will buy your home. Any property, any condition, anywhere, and always as is. Call me, Mike Robinson with Robank Properties at 314-283-0867. That's 314-283-0867. You have nothing to lose when you call Robank Properties at 314-283-0867.
What's it going to take for you to realize the IRS is in full-blown attack mode, and if you have IRS issues, your timely response is critical? Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. We certainly know the IRS has ramped up efforts because we're seeing a lot more clients with threats of intents to seize property or levy rights to property. If you have IRS issues, call the Lance Drury Firm today. Today, don't wait. Those IRS notices have hard deadlines for exercising your appeal rights. If you miss the deadline, your rights to a legal appeal are gone. Let the Lance Drury Law Firm get between you and the IRS today, and we'll help you manage your case to achieve the best outcome. IRS problems are serious legal matters, so call Lance Drury Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Don't wait. Call 314-260-6120. That's 314-260-6120, and schedule your free consultation with me, Lance Drury, or visit LanceDruryLaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Autumn is in the air, and like the leaves, prices are falling at Harbor Freight's parking lot sale, going on now. We've got tons of products on sale, like 3-ton jacks for under $100, 5,000-watt generators, $250 off, plus dual bevel miter saws at nearly half the price of the competition. Whatever you do, do it for less at Harbor Freight. Valid until 10/13/24 while supplies last, so hurry in. Limitations apply.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Welcome back to hour number 1 of Straight Talk on Retirement. We had a great text question to start off the show this morning. So if you have something on your mind, don't hesitate. 84126 on the text line, 314-931-5877. If you'd like to hear your voice along with ours on the radio this morning. But our first texter asked, we got a home that I'm working on paying off. I have a 401k, about 56. What else do I need to do? And Rob, I thought you made a great point that not only are you already doing all the right things, but there's things going on in the background like Social Security that's going to come in to help make a big difference in your retirement. And that's a big piece of what a lot of the literature that talks about how much you need to have when you get to retirement in order to not only be comfortable, but sustain your income as long as you're alive. And I thought our Rock Stars of the Week segment that we like to do every single week, point out people that have crossed that magical bridge. They've made it to retirement, and we're going to make sure that they have the opportunity not only to maintain their assets over time, but hopefully prudently grow them as they enjoy their retirement. So let's give our texter and all of our listeners a nice example of how Social Security can help fit into your retirement game plan.
Yeah, we identify families as rock stars if they have predictable income streams at retirement that will permit them to keep their current lifestyle and deal with other financial needs for capital over their lifetime.
And so sufficient income can come from multiple sources. It can come from fixed income.
Pension.
Right, so pension, Social Security benefit.
401k.
well, that's not fixed, right?
Right.
That's a variable one. But, we were talking about farm owners at the top of the show, so maybe you have farm income, rental, crops, whatever the case may be. If you have predictable income that you've already, for example, if you have rental income, maybe you've already extracted those expenses for it. So there's predictable fixed income, and then there's also variable income that you can accumulate through capital that we can then turn into an income stream for you. So it's either predictable fixed income or enough capital to create that income. And before we move on, let's get our next text question.
And our texter writes, if I take Social Security at 65 but I'm still working, would they adjust my monthly payment if I am still adding years at the higher salary?
So there's a few things here. First is if you take your Social Security benefit at 65, there's going to be an income limitation, right?
There is. That was my first thought. So you're going to take it at 65 but continue to work. If you make over $22,340 for the year, they're going to take back $1 for every $2 that you make.
That's right. So if you begin your Social Security benefit before your normal retirement age,
which for most people is going to be about 66 in 10 months. Goes by your birthday.
Right, 66 in 10 months to 67 at this point. Then you are going to be saddled with that income limitation until you reach normal retirement age. Then once you reach that, you can earn as much as you'd like, correct?
Once you get on the other side of it, yes.
But the texter is also right. Because Social Security aggregates your top earning years, yes, your Social Security benefit could be incrementally rising, but you could still also be paying it back at the same time. So although you'll see it increase, you're not going to see that increase until you either reach normal retirement age or you stop earning over the income limitation. So this would not necessarily be an avenue that we would recommend if we're working together, that you take your Social Security and continue to earn over the income limitation unless you've reached your normal retirement age.
And it's been a couple of times where we've been in meetings where, someone is adamant that they're not going back, and we say, well, why don't we just wait
a month or two
before we turn on or elect our Social Security benefit? Because a lot of times what we're seeing is that employers are making workers offers they simply cannot refuse at prices that are like, time and a half what they were getting.
Sure.
So it just, rather than have to pay back, the Social Security and suspend it, it'd be better just to wait and see until every I is dotted and T is crossed.
Sure. We often find that when people initially retire, it takes about 3 to 6 months to create an equilibrium for yourself, not just in what your habits are going to be, but if you happen to work for an employer that is still looking for assistance, maybe you are a highly compensated sales individual, or you just have quite a bit of knowledge and experience at your position that your employer does not want to lose. So maybe you've offloaded some of the career responsibility, but you've decided to go back to what some might call a job because the pay or the hours is hard to refuse. And we don't want that to interfere with your Social Security benefit. So sometimes waiting a couple of months, living off some savings, or even taking a distribution or two from your retirement accounts while you get to that equilibrium exactly is not the worst decision. So let's get back to our retirement rock stars. So we've defined rock stars as individuals that have enough income or capital to meet their income needs in retirement.
And it's a great thing that your dad always says, and it makes perfect sense. Every family we work with, whether they're married, singled, divorced, widowed, is different and unique. But the math of becoming a rock star, the algebra problem, that never changes. So the formula for the rock star is set in stone. But how you get to that status, well, there are many roads you can take to get there.
Absolutely. And really the fun of being a financial planner and working with individuals and being a retirement coach is kind of revealing to people that they are rock stars in retirement, or giving them the opportunity to see the path to get to becoming a rock star.
And just a follow-up to our texter on the Social Security side of the question, he's asked, is there a limit on earnings in the year you reach full retirement age, or is it the middle of the year? The year you reach full retirement age, you are able to earn...
So what they will do is they will take back $1 for every 3 that you earn over...
59,520. So they cut you a little bit of a break on that year.
Yes, for in 2 ways. One, they increase the earnings limit, so that's up to $59,000.
Instead of half, it's only a third, one out of every $3.
Exactly. And just as an additional caveat, if you happen to retire in the middle of a year and you do not plan to go back to work, there is a one-time grace period that Social Security is going to offer you that says, okay, we're going to take a look at what your forward earnings will be for the rest of the year versus what you have already earned. And if you are not going to earn after you've elected your Social Security benefit, they will not count your earnings for that year, but they only do it the one time. So that it doesn't reset every year. However, that earnings limit will reset every year. So if you take early, between 62 and your normal retirement age, then you're going to have that $22,000 annual earning limit that increases on an annual basis based on the cost of living adjustments. So you want to check that on an annual basis. The year you reach normal retirement age, you get a reprieve because the income limit bumps up to about $59,000. And then once you reach normal retirement age, you have no earnings limit whatsoever.
The shackles are off you.
Exactly. You're allowed to, if you want to go back full time, take your Social Security too. And then, like our texter initially asked, yes, your Social Security amount can adjust based on continued higher earnings, but just keep in mind that it's going to be incremental because it's only going to replace 1 year at a time of your top earning years. So...
let's get back to our rock stars.
Let's actually visit. We visited with a few rock stars, so let's give everyone an idea of what that looks like when you come in for a coaching session.
Paul is 66 years old. He works for the public utility in the city. His wife, Judy, is 64. She's a fourth-grade teacher in St. Louis County. They have been savers and investors their entire lives. They've accumulated $1.6 million in retirement assets and $60,000 in savings. That's
fantastic. Their when we were chatting with Paul and Judy, they mentioned that their monthly income need is about $7,000 a month. That's how much they're spending. Now, we know in retirement we need to incorporate taxes back into that expense. So if we need $7,000 a month, we really need to gross that up for taxes by about 20%. That means that our goal is $8,400 a month.
And we know that when Paul reaches normal retirement age, his Social Security will be $3,100 a month, and Judy's pension upon her retirement will be $2,000 a month. So between Social Security and Judy's pension, that is $5,100 of the $8,400 that we need. So that leaves us with about a $3,300 deficit.
That's right. And for all of you following along, Judy doesn't have access to Social Security benefit because she's been paying into the teacher's pension program in Missouri. So her alternative is the PSRS system versus Social Security. She may have a small benefit because she did work a little bit before she became a public school teacher. However, we rarely count that total into our calculation because in most cases, the offset that happens for individuals that are paying into the PSRS pension is significant enough that we'll just say you're going to get a real nice lunch from Social Security, most likely.
So with them having a monthly deficit of $33,000, we know we have to annualize that. So
$3,300.
$3,300. That would be a big deficit to fill.
Going on some Donald Trump vacations or something.
So we know we have to annualize that. So $3,300 times 12 leaves us with an annual amount just under $40,000 at $39,600. We know at a prudent rate of withdrawal of 4%, we need just about $1 million.
And we like to use that 4% rate of withdrawal because it gives us the best. Literature says, and historical research tells us, that a 4% rate of withdrawal gives us the best opportunity to live off of the interest and the earnings of your capital without depleting the principal. And essentially, that's what most people's goal is in retirement, which is, I don't want to see the dollars that I've saved decrease over time. I want to be able to live off of what they generate for me. And like I mentioned, literature and much of the data supports that if we stay within about a 4% rate of withdrawal on a consistent basis in retirement, that is going to give us the best opportunity for your money to outlive you. And,
we're using nice round numbers because we want to basically simplify what a coaching session is. But, for instance, the monthly cash goal of $7,000, depending on how thorough you are with bringing in what you're spending. I mean, there could be items within that budget that are not permanent. For instance, you may have a car that you're paying off where right now we have to incorporate that payment, but that payment is going away in 18 months. Or maybe you're creating, $1,000 or $500 in savings every month. Well, we know we're not really going to have to do that in retirement. We're not going to have to save. We're not going to take distributions from your retirement account so that you can put it in your savings account. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So we would definitely drill down into those monthly numbers to see if there's is it always going to be $7,000? Or are there other obligations that are falling away in a certain amount of time that we don't have to fund for a long period of time?
That is something that I think all of our new listeners are probably curious about, which is when individuals come in for a coaching session, we ask them to please fill out a brief financial questionnaire that basically has family information, but also incorporates what you just mentioned, Rob, which is what are you spending every month? And there are two ways that we can do that. We can figure that out the shorthand way, which is how much is coming into your bank account as a family every single month.
And what's left over.
Right. Or we won't even incorporate what's left over. We can just say we want to replace 100% of your after-tax paycheck. We can start from that could be our jumping off point. And if we do use that as our jumping off point, Rob, you make a great point, which is there's probably things in there, one, that we're not accounting for, but two, that are being over-accounted for, which is that car payment won't last forever. Maybe that house payment, we're coming to the very end of it, or we're approaching the end, that's not going to last forever. Or there are new things that we will have to add into the budget in retirement. For example, if you are retiring before 65, maybe we need to incorporate an elevated insurance expense into your budget.
There could be that bridge onto Medicare. You have a couple of years that we might be on COBRA for 18 months. That's an expense. You might have to go to the marketplace. But it's a temporary expense. It's not one we have to fund for a long period of time.
And then the alternative way that we can calculate your expenses is, I like to call it the accountant's or the engineer's way, because many times when we see individuals that work in either of those trades, they have the spreadsheets ready to go, all the way down to dog grooming, how much it costs when my wife goes to get her nails done, when I go out to get coffee. I was meeting with some clients yesterday, and they have a matcha tea budget. So they've already incorporated, they like to go to Starbucks on a regular basis, and they wanted to add that expense into their budget. It's a line item for them on a monthly basis. So if you are hyperfixated on your expenses, we can drill down pretty significantly with you. Or if a more generalized, I know my checking account never goes into the red, so let's just use what I receive on a monthly basis as the basis for what my income goal is going to be in retirement. We can work it both ways, and that is part of what that 3 to 6 months equilibrium in retirement is. Let's make sure that we got the number right. If you start to see excess accumulating in your savings account after you've retired, maybe we want to withdraw less from your retirement accounts in retirement.
You're absolutely right. And the more color that you can put to your spending and the more documents you bring in, the more you're going to get out of a coaching session, because we can drill down very, very far.
And this is not an attempt to critique what you are spending.
No, not at all.
It's just to get in sync with it and hopefully be able to show you that, just like for Paul and Judy, we were able to make that work, because if we look back to their example, they needed about $8,400 a month, Social Security and pension, so fixed income. And for many people, you might be thinking, I don't have access to a pension. Well, just replace, if you happen to be married, instead of Judy having a pension, maybe it's a Social Security benefit. But there's about
60% of their need is wiped away just between, like you said,
Social Security
and pension. Well, if if she wasn't working for a teacher, she had just a regular job where she had access to Social Security, it would still be roughly in that ballpark. So that's 60% of the need gone right there.
60% is covered by what you've already done during your working career. We need about $3,300 a month, which is about $40,000 a year.
On the face of it, it can be a little intimidating because, gee, I'm going to be retired and I need $8,400 a month. Like, wow.
Right, that's a large number to overcome.
It's a sticker shock associated with it, but then when you start to unpack it, you start to feel a lot better about it.
That's right. So like we said, they're short about $3,300 a month or $40,000 a year. That means we need about $1 million in order to make that work over a long period of time, because we're going to pull 4%, which is about $40,000.
Which is great.
When we look back, they had about $1.6 million in retirement assets between both Paul and Judy. So we know not only do they have enough to make their retirement work when they want to, but they're going to have a little excess or buffer in order to not only continue to make that work over a long period of time, but give them a little extra security.
They'll have $60,000 in savings, another $600,000 of excess retirement assets above and beyond the milk money needed to sustain their lifestyle.
We have a great text question that's just come in, and we're going to take it right before our second break of the hour, which is, how do you factor in inflation as part of retirement income?
And we will tackle that on the other side of this break. So don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more Straight Talk on Retirement after these messages.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you're always looking for ways to position your operation to create opportunities and move on them faster. With Bank of America, you get access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2024 Bank of America N.A.
This is the story of the one. As a facility technician installing a new welding station, he knows getting the ventilation right is critical for safety. That's why when questions arise, there's Grainger. Grainger offers detailed technical product information online at his fingertips, so it's easy to find what he needs. Because when it comes to safety, having answers means he and his people can breathe a little easier. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Mariah, third generation at Newsteaders Fine Jewelry. Buying an engagement ring can be intimidating. At Newsteaders, we ensure complete understanding of your purchase. We offer a choice in both lab and mine-grown diamonds and are able to work with any budget. Let our family help educate you on your choice at Big Ben and Doherty Ferry or at wowdiamonds.com.
Beyond to Jersey, the next best piece of Blues fan gear is a hoodie. So we've teamed up with Ameren, Missouri to hook you up with a new one to add to your collection of fan wear. On October 22nd, the Blues will take on the Jets, and the first 12,000 fans through the gates in Enterprise Center will receive a comfy royal hoodie with gray sleeves. It's the perfect way to rep the Nodes on cool fall days or game nights. Get your tickets today at stlouisblues.com/promotions.
Huge summer savings every day at Appliance Discounters. They have the lowest prices in St. Louis, plus additional cash rebates and the largest selection of appliances. Next day delivery, the largest locally owned appliance company in St. Louis, Appliance Discounters. When you come into one of their stores, an appliance expert will greet you and help you with the purchase. They'll take away the old one, install the new one, interest-free financing. Check out the showroom or shop online. TheApplianceDiscounters.com. The name says it all. TheApplianceDiscounters.com.
The University of Missouri St. Louis is the perfect setting for students to gain insights from outstanding faculty and work experience from internships at world-class companies. More than 80,000 UMSL alumni call St. Louis home. They drive this region's economy and represent countless connections to future UMSL graduates. The University of Missouri St. Louis, transforming lives. Find your more at more.umsl.edu.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at Erin@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Welcome back. Welcome back. We've only received a few yard sale calls. We are sorry to have supplanted them this morning. But Mizzou, coming in strong this year. Going to be on just another hour or so.
We can only do what we can do.
That's right. We had a great text question before we took our second break of the first hour.
And our texter writes, how do you factor in for inflation as part of retirement income?
So there are a few ways that we factor in inflation, and these last few years have been a true test
of our models.
Exactly.
In a way that
we did not anticipate.
None of the textbooks could prepare you for.
It was a stress test of the JBL financial inflation model.
And how many people do we have to send back to work?
None, thankfully.
There you have it.
That's right. But so let's give a little insight here, which is the first thing that we have learned. And my dad said this over 2 years ago, right when the transitory inflation began, that became not so transitory, that people make choices when prices begin to rise. You don't walk into the grocery, and we all know this because I think it's probably a top 5 topic amongst people how expensive things are right now. If we're not talking about the expense of cars, we're talking about when you go to the grocery store and you see prices have risen over 40% in some cases, or as a baseline, and then you see other things rise even more. When you walk into the grocery store and you see a price that you are not comfortable with, you don't say, well, I'm just going to keep buying this. It keeps going up. I'm going to keep getting it. Well, if bacon's $7 a pound, maybe you decide it's time for cereal or it's time for eggs, something else. People make conscious and subconscious choices that tend to keep their budgets in line. We've seen that because all of our clients live on a fixed income, but it's a fixed income of their own making, which is what we just designed with Paul and Judy. They said they needed about $8,400 a month to make their lives work on a consistent basis, including taxes. That's a fixed income. When you are living in that situation, like many of our clients, we are not seeing them come back and ask for a raise, so to speak. I need more money because of inflation. And that tells us that people aren't just buying the same things, doing the same things as prices rise. They really are making those choices. The second thing that we do to combat inflation or incorporate that into our model is we overestimate taxes. So let's use, again, Paul and Judy as an example. We said they needed $8,400 a month to make their life work. That includes taxes. So if I multiply that $8,400 by 12 to get their annual amount, that's $100,000 a year. Now, not all of that is going to be taxable to them because only 85% of Paul's Social Security benefit will be taxable. So we know that there's even a little bit of a buffer there. We put 20% as their tax rate when in reality they are going to be much closer to the 15% tax bracket. That's because the first $89,000 that a couple that is married filing jointly earns is going to be taxed at about the 10% rate. Then each additional dollar is going to become more expensive, but most people think about their...
Once you cross over the tax bracket, your whole the whole income is subject to that rate, where that is not the case.
Right,
it's only the dollars past that tax rate. So in your example, from 89 to 101, that would be taxable at the higher tax rate, not the entire $100,000. It's a common mistake. It's very easy to
because most people think about their marginal rate, which is the most expensive dollar. It's the last dollar they've earned. It's the highest bracket. But we have a progressive tax system. So just like Rob described, the first $89,000 doesn't become the higher tax rate just because you were successful, you earned a little bit more than the initial bracket. Only those additional dollars are going to be taxed at the higher rate. So what we tend to focus on, as opposed to your marginal rate, we tend to focus on the effective rate, which is And everyone can do this. I know we're getting can you imagine we're getting closer to tax time already? We're in the home stretch of this year, so we'll start talking about some tax planning for end of year as time goes on, because we want to make sure you get all your ducks in a row before the first of the year. But if you look back at your 2023 tax return, you can see how much you earned after deductions versus how much you paid in taxes. If you divide those numbers, then you'll see what your effective rate is, and you might find that it's lower than you think. You'll also find that it's a little shocking. We can replace all of Paul and Judy's income needs, which is we meet their spending on a monthly basis, and most likely they are still in a much lower tax bracket, because while you're working, you pay taxes on your gross pay. You never get to see the gross dollar amount that you were offered in salary, because you have Social Security. I mean, you have Social Security taxes withheld, FICA, income taxes withheld. There's no reason to attempt to recreate your gross income in retirement. You never lived off of that to begin with. Let's recreate your net income, or even better, your net spending. And then we know that in most cases, it is rare that we find people that ask us for a raise after they've been retired for that. We get to past that equilibrium of the 3 to 6 months, and they're set in their retirement ways. We rarely see people come back and say we need more on a monthly basis. Obviously, emergencies happen. That's why we talked about at the top of the hour, let's have that emergency fund in place, so that way you don't have to raid retirement accounts or investment accounts or use credit in order to meet any short-term emergencies that you might have.
No, we certainly don't cut corners when it comes to your spending, and whenever the opportunity arises, we always try and build in those buffers, and we always round up, because it's better to have too much, or we're thinking we have to fund this amount for the longer term, but it actually turned out it was a little bit less. Isn't that great?
Let's overestimate expenses,
right.
underestimate assets, and that way, as my mom likes to say, this is one of my favorites of hers, let's underpromise and overdeliver.
Sounds good to me.
Right? I like that. I'm sure we got a couple more text questions to round out the first hour of the show. And for those of you that have been longtime listeners, you're up earlier with us this morning. You know, the second hour is Medicare. So we'll be kicking off our second hour of the show focused on Medicare. Last week we talked about Aetna. This upcoming week we are going to focus on United Healthcare. So if you happen to be using a United policy, you might want to stick around for the next hour. You can hear a little bit more about the upcoming changes and some of the benefit changes with United Healthcare.
And one of our texters writes, it sounds like you are doing an income tax game plan for each client. So that's cool. You know, we have to know how. That
is cool.
We have to know how we're going to interface with the IRS. I mean, you just have to. And if we don't prepare taxes, we don't submit them. But we definitely want to have a good, solid footing underneath us when it comes to your game plan and how taxes are going to affect that game plan.
That's right. We are not tax preparers, not accountants. However, we do understand the implications of withdrawals from retirement accounts, after-tax accounts, what capital gains taxes implications might be for you. We do need to plan for those things in advance. And then because we don't prepare taxes, we're happy to interface with our client specialists, CPAs, or tax preparers when the time comes.
I just was able to facilitate a client's CPA the other day. Needed to talk to Missy. Needed a couple
Missy, our client service manager. That's
needed
right.
a few documents. Sent them right over. Easy peasy.
We love to hear it. I think we've got time for one quick one if there is anyone with another question.
I don't have a will, but all my accounts are either TOD or POD. Do I need one for your medical directive and your durable power of attorney and whatever family heirlooms you might have? I mean,
yeah. So if you have TOD or POD and beneficiary designations on all of your accounts, your home, your car, you've protected from probate, but you haven't protected from what Rob just mentioned, which is end of life wishes, and also if you need that durable power of attorney for an interim before you may pass, or
right.
If you have any collectibles that you would like to leave to specific people, the will is going to be your opportunity to do that.
doesn't go wrong you can never go wrong having that will, if for nothing more than your end-of-life directives and your durable power of attorney.
So don't touch that dial. We are going to be back with more Straight Talk on Retirement after these messages.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Welcome back to Straight Talk on Retirement. It is time. You've all been waiting. Well, really been waiting for months. Well, we were able to kick off our first annual enrollment show last week. We focused on Aetna, which is one of our top carriers, not just through our firm, through what our clients have chosen, but also on the national level. They're one of the top insurance companies, one of the top Medicare Advantage companies. So we focused on them to begin with. We're going to take a look at a deeper dive of United Healthcare and their changes for 2025. And we have our Medicare coach, our Medicare specialist, Frank Ellis, in the house this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Frank. Thank you all for waking up early. Thank you, Frank, for waking up early. We know you've had one long week already. Got a few more to go before open enrollment ends. But let's hear a little bit about, you've already had some great conversations with people in preparation for applications going out on October 15th, right?
Absolutely. So this is the second official week of open enrollment. So we are looking at these plans, watching these plans and what they're looking like for 2025, and just putting people in plans that make sense for them. Maybe people have different needs, whether that be health needs, whether that be dental work, whether that be you're going to have a cataract. So we're able to kind of set these plans up tailored off of people's needs. And today's story with the people that we helped at JBL is about a lady who had some specific dental needs. So we were able to tailor a plan for her with a little bit more dental, and that brings us to why United Healthcare maybe made sense for her situation. So Mandy and Scott, they're two Medicare Advantage clients of ours, and they've been on the Anthem HMO.
Okay.
Now, I know that there's a lot of talk in the air about the Anthem plans and what's going on with Mercy. Mm-hmm. So Mandy and Scott, like most people with Anthem, they called the office and they said, hey, we have this Anthem plan, and we heard that they're not going to be in network with Mercy, so we might want to take a look at some options. And
part of what our office did in advance was we said, let's look at everyone that's on those Anthem Medicare Advantage plans and see if they're using Mercy doctors as of their last time in to see you, Frank. And I think that's how Mandy and Scott ended up on your schedule, because Rob gave them a call and said, hey, you might, if you didn't hear the news, I have news for you. So we do try to be proactive when we see broad stroke changes like that. Obviously, every year the plans have prescription drug changes that affect people on an individual level, but when we see major hospital systems joining or leaving networks, that's going to be a cue for us to say, let's be proactive for those people, get them in to see Frank. So Mandy and Scott, they were obviously impacted by that Mercy change, but maybe a change would have made sense for them anyway based on what you've already told us about their upcoming dental needs.
That's right. So with Mercy, Anthem is saying that they should have a deal done by the end of the year. We know that open enrollment ends on December 7th. So for a lot of these Anthem clients, they can't necessarily wait until December 31st if there is a deal made with Anthem and Mercy. So they have to start thinking about this stuff and taking a look at their options, and that's exactly what we did with all of our Anthem clients, in particular Mandy and Scott. Great. So they're on the Anthem HMO. She mentioned that she is going to have some extensive dental work done next year. Okay. Now, with these dental allowances inside of these Medicare Advantage plans, most of the companies did not cover implants. Only a few covered implants for this year, 2024. And none of them are basically covering it next year for 2025.
So implants are actually off the list now.
That is, because they're going to consider that cosmetic again, like they used to before 2023 when they first started covering those.
So, guys, and by guys I mean listeners, if you are in need of implants,
get them now.
It might not be a fun, you know what? Thanksgiving food is all mush anyway. So if you got to get it taken care of, like, use those dental benefits right now, especially if you are in need of implants, because like Frank just said, that benefit, it's not really a hidden benefit. It's just part of the dental benefit. They're going to strip that out, and it's going to go back to more of a PPO-style dental plan across all of these Medicare Advantage plans, which means they're going to define benefits for you versus a strict reimbursement like they had been doing in the past.
That's right. So Mandy had two things that led me towards United Healthcare. One was the required dental work that she's going to have next year. And one of those being a crown, and we know how expensive crowns can be, between $800 and $1,600.
And that's if it all goes perfectly. And they didn't find anything else. It always seems like when you're at the dentist, the one problem you had leads to like 6 new problems that you didn't even know about. So maybe if the dentist is doing the work, you want to bump up your dental benefit for that year.
So the second thing, so first was her need for some extra dental, and the second thing was a medication that she's currently prescribed.
Okay.
Restasis. So Restasis is an eye drop of some sort, and for most companies, it has been a tier 3 for at least the last 3 years that I know.
It still seems like they might put Gold Flex in it or something because it is a really expensive eye drop.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That can be a very expensive eye drop, especially depending on how you pay it.
Right.
Meaning whether it's a set amount copay in your plan's formulary, or whether you're paying a certain percentage for that medication. So prices can certainly vary on a medication like that.
Right.
So her Anthem plan had $1,500 of dental. And when we did our comparisons, we noticed that there were 2 HMO plans with United Healthcare that made sense for her, but one more so in particular than the other.
Okay, so how did you narrow down those 2 plan options?
So when we were talking to Mandy, and I don't mean to ignore Scott at all in this situation since we're talking about Mandy a lot. Scott was much easier. He didn't have any medications. He just kind of wanted the best plan that was going to, if he did have to use the plan, would have the lowest max out of pocket.
Okay.
So he was very easy. But Mandy, we looked at 2 options of HMOs with United Healthcare. The one that did not necessarily make much sense to me, because Aetna's plan is a little bit better, in my opinion, was called the ST3 with United Healthcare. Now, it is an HMO, and just like Aetna, it does not require referrals. And also, just like Aetna, you have that national network. So those are 2 really big things that I like about the plans.
Okay, great.
With United.
Okay.
So the ST3 had a $2,800 max out of pocket, $1,000 for dental, $300 for vision, and then $45 a quarter over the counter.
Okay, so pretty low maximum out of pocket and not as much dental, though.
That's right.
Okay. All right. So we were able to cover one of her concerns, which was, I'm assuming the prescriptions were covered well under that policy.
Yes.
Or the Restasis. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to improve one of the things, but not really the dental that she was looking for.
That's right.
Okay.
So that's the one that necessarily didn't make much sense if we were going to go with
but it put Mercy doctors back into the network.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
It put all of their doctors back into the network.
So when you were kind of going through this analysis, it was first we got to get Mercy back in the network for both Mandy and Scott. Then secondly, we got to get that Restasis covered a little bit better for Mandy. And then third, where are we going to find the dental? And so it's kind of a process of narrowing these things down. Like we had to move away from Anthem because Mercy's gone potentially. Aetna and United were good choices, but now we're really focused on the United options because of the prescription. And then also now let's look at, can we do better than $1,000 for Mandy on that dental?
Exactly. And that's where those little small intricacies come in is with those drug payments, who's going to cover that prescription drug cost and who's going to maximize all of my benefits. And that's where the ST4, the second option HMO, made the most sense for Mandy, in my opinion. So she would be going a little bit higher on her max, so a $3,300 max instead of a $2,800 max. Her dental would increase to $4,000 for the year, so she can get everything she needs covered, plus some.
Okay.
Vision would remain $300, and then she would get $120 over the counter for her over-the-counter benefit in the plan, and that's per quarter.
So I think this is just one of the best examples I've seen about using about maximizing the dental benefit, because in many cases we are absolutely not looking for Medicare Advantage plans based on these extra benefits like dental, because as many of you can see just by Frank pointing out the differences between the two United Healthcare HMOs, there's a trade-off in benefits. $2,800 max out of pocket only gives you $1,000 of dental, but if you're willing to bump up a $500 max out of pocket, so $3,300 will get you $4,000. We already know that Mandy's going to spend more than $500 on dental. So United Healthcare is going to give her the money back in the dental benefit, even if she spent the Let's say poor Mandy has a really bad year. She's got to get the crown, and then she hits her max out of pocket on the medical side. It sounds like she is still going to come out ahead on the United policy, because even if she doesn't max the full $4,000 of dental benefit, she's going to have that crown, which you said is about $1,500. And that's just to start. Who knows what else she might have going on, or what else might be charged in terms of x-rays, things like that, during the course of her treatment on the dental side. So she's going to use $1,500. That is no extra charge to her to have that benefit.
That's right.
In the plan. So she's going to get that back from United, even if she spent it on the other side on the medical.
That's right. That's right. So that's what I was thinking, and that's why we chose that specific plan for her. It just made more sense to, if she needs the work and she's going to spend it, to take that plan for next year, and then, of course, reevaluate during open enrollment next year. Maybe she doesn't need the dental and she wants to bring her max out of pocket back down. Then we find a plan for her that's catered to that. So another thing, that we've been discussing is the Restasis.
That's that pricey iMed prescription.
That's right. So that's a tier 3 going into next year. It's just going to remain exactly the same. But what we found when we were looking at Restasis is that a lot of these insurance companies did not even cover Restasis. So it was not even on their formulary. So for some of these insurance companies, it wasn't even close. We weren't even going to consider them because they did not cover that medication.
And so if you're in a position, though, let's just say you're on a Medicare Advantage plan and you have a med that none of them cover. That means you need a prior authorization, and that it's going to end up on the highest tier, right?
That's right. That's right.
So also that could mean that if you're in a position where you have a high-price med or a med that's not on the formulary, as you might, and you don't want to change your plan. Maybe you've had prior authorizations in the past, but you know that unfortunately it's going to be a more expensive med for you on tier 5. If you can get the prior authorization approved, which in most cases, as long as it's medically necessary, you should see an approval, but it's going to be more expensive.
It is, especially on those tier 5s, because those are, considered specialty tiers, and you're always paying a percentage as opposed to a set amount. So Restasis under United Healthcare was covered at a tier 3. And in the plan that we selected for with the 3,300 dental, or excuse me, the 3,300 max and the 4,000 dental, her formulary, so her prescription formulary in that plan is a 5-tier, just like all the rest of the insurance companies. Her tier 1 and tier 2, those are generic medications. Those are both $0 at the pharmacy.
And there's no deductible associated with those tiers.
No deductible associated with tier 1 and tier 2.
Great.
Her tier 3 is a set amount, $47.
Okay.
Which would be what the Restasis is. It's a tier 3, so she's just going to pay a set amount at the pharmacy, $47. And then if she ever were to get a tier 4, it would be $100. And then her tier 5 would be, again, a percentage. Those specialty tiers, 33% of the retail. So those can be very expensive. So for Mandy, when we were looking at the other insurance companies, we noticed that her price for the medication with United Healthcare was $564 a year through mail order on that particular Restasis. The next best company was covering it at $1,300. So, and then it just kept getting worse and worse and worse from there, all the way up to like $9,000 for that medication. So United Healthcare was covering that by far better than the other insurance companies. So it just made sense to go with them as a company. One, like we said, she's getting her Mercy doctors back. Mm-hmm. She's also gaining much more in dental,
which
she's not going to have to, that she needs. So she's not going to have to go out of pocket for those expensive because she's going to be covered. And her Restasis is a set amount for the year. No sort of like percentage that she has to pay on it. So she gained a lot by moving to United Healthcare.
So we mentioned briefly last week that United Healthcare had added prescription drug deductibles to some of their policies.
Yes.
How does that work? And how will that work for Mandy?
So Mandy, since it is a tier 3, she will pay a deductible that does go towards her maximum out of pocket for her prescription plan. And that max again for next year is $2,000.
And that is a max out of pocket for every single person that's on any prescription drug plan. So that means if you access prescription drug coverage through Medicare Advantage, or if you have a supplement with an individual prescription drug plan, as long as you have a prescription drug plan, you have a max out of pocket of $2,000 on the dental.
That's right, of the prescriptions.
I mean, on the prescriptions, I don't know.
and keep in mind that it does have to be on the formulary. If the medication is not on the formulary and it's not covered, whatever you pay for that at the pharmacy is not going towards that maximum out of pocket of $2,000. So it's important to review this stuff. Make sure that your medications are covered and at least on the formulary. Because we would hate to, for someone to not know their medication is on the formulary. And they could have just called me and got the information, and then they end up, owing over that $2,000 because they didn't know that their medication was not on the formulary.
And this is the same thing for any of you that are currently utilizing insulin. Several years ago now, insulin was capped at $35 a fill. However, the insulin that you are using has to be on the prescription drug plan's formulary that you are enrolled in order to gain access to the $35 copay. If you're taking insulin, but that particular insulin is not on your plan's formulary, you're not protected under the $35. So another reason why you might want to reach out to Frank, you can do that by emailing him franklin@jblfinancial.com, or going to our website, jblfinancial.com, hit the Contact Us button, and let us know if you'd like an appointment to see Frank to review your coverage for the annual enrollment, or if you just have a question, give Frank a tiny bit of grace because there's quite a few people emailing, calling, and he's got the 9 to 5 meeting, so we make the commitment to reach out to everyone that reaches out to us. However, it just might be a few days before you get a response in terms of an answer. However, we will confirm that we've received your email so you know that someone is listening. You are on a list, but you might not get your full-fledged, researched answer by Frank or Rob immediately. It'll take a little bit of time. Quick follow-up, which UHC Advantage plan has the $4,000 of dental? Now, United is usually really good at branding things, marketing, naming new things. I believe they came up with Silver Sneakers and then changed it to Renew Active recently, over the last couple of years. I'm not so impressed with their titles of their Medicare Advantage plans this year. They really, Aetna calls them Gold or Elite or Smart Fit. So it's a little bit easier to call out. Unfortunately, we've got letter number abbreviations for these. So which one has the 4,000 of dental, Frank?
So the one with the 4,000 dental is ST4.
For like 4,000 of dental. Also,
what a name, right?
Right.
ST4.
It has a $3,300 max out of pocket. So if you're looking at other benefits, that'll help clue you in that you're in the right spot with them. But yeah, unfortunately, that's not the product code. That's literally the name of the Medicare Advantage plan this year, ST4.
It's the one. So if you've been on Medicare, and maybe you even have the plan already, it's the one that used to be called the HMO POS 2.
Okay, so not only have they renamed it, but they've renamed it something more confusing.
Exactly. And they did that across the board with all of their plans. And the other option that we talked about today that we didn't take from Andy, but their second HMO option is the ST3.
So that's the one that maybe you don't need dental work, but you want a lower maximum out of pocket. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're on what is now going to be called ST4, but it was the HMO point of service 2 last year. Maybe you want to look at their other option to bring your max out of pocket back down to the $2,800. So just a few things to consider. I believe also the one other point that you made, which I thought was great, was that for those of you that are on the United Healthcare Walgreens PPO, they just dropped Walgreens. They're just calling it the PPO now, right?
That's right. And I believe that one is ST2.
Oh, okay.
So it's still the same PPO, but ST2.
And with United Healthcare, Walgreens is still the preferred pharmacy. Is that correct?
So United Healthcare expanded their pharmacies.
Cool.
So you can go to other pharmacies now, Walgreens included, mail order, Costco, Walmart. So they have branched out their pharmacies from the
just
later
the
years.
Walgreens.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, because I do remember that Walgreens PPO, you had to go to Walgreens.
Yeah, and that was part of the reason why they dropped the name Walgreens.
Okay.
Because they weren't just exclusive to Walgreens. They had a couple of other pharmacies, but now they've completely expanded those pharmacy options.
Okay, so if you are someone like Mandy and Scott, you have some upcoming needs that may have been different from the past year, or maybe you just want to hear a little bit more about what your potential options are. You'd like more dental, you are using Mercy Physicians, and you want to get out of one of those Anthem policies because you don't want to wait to hear what happens. Frank has time on his schedule. We are booking starting the first and second week of November at this point because Frank's booked all up for the next 3 weeks of October, but there's still plenty of time to get on the schedule. Give us a call, 314-863-0008, or send Frank an email, franklin@jblfinancial.com. We're going to take our first break of this hour. I know Frank has a little bit more to cover with United Healthcare, and we've already got several text questions on deck that Rob's going to fire on Frank when we get back. So don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Our story is about a people, a city, and a legendary river that runs through it. It lives in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. It's the story of St. Louis. Now you can get the news that brings us together in the palm of your hand with the St. Louis Post-Dispatch app. Get breaking news alerts that keep you on top of St. Louis's biggest stories, local weather to help you prep for that next storm, video and podcasts that let you hear directly from newsmakers. Download the St. Louis Post-Dispatch app wherever you get your apps.
The Irish Gypsy Bar and Grill invites you to come in and enjoy phenomenal food, drinks, and service. Try the incredible tender mouth-watering steak sandwich, the best Reuben egg rolls in town, or their fried pretzel sticks with Guinness beer cheese sauce. Daily drink and beer specials, adult trivia Mondays, music bingo on Tuesdays, NFL Sunday ticket, and the MLS package on one of their 8 TVs or their 150-inch big screen. Open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 1-ish a.m. 21 and older after 6 p.m. The Irish Gypsy Bar and Grill, 1250 Bryan Road in O'Fallon, Missouri. Check them out online at theirishgypsybar.com.
Progressive Snapshot can save you money based on how you drive and how much you drive. So the safer you drive, the more money you could save. Now, if you didn't hear that because you were yelling at another car while driving, let me say it again. You need to calm down. Yelling is just making everyone as stressed out as you are and letting them all know that you definitely aren't trying to save with Progressive Snapshot. And if you did hear it the first time because you weren't yelling at another car, nice work. You'd love Snapshot from Progressive because it rewards safe drivers. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Snapshot not available in California and North Carolina or from all agents.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Straight Talk on Retirement. We are in the thick of our United Healthcare-focused Medicare segment for everyone that is looking at annual enrollment. You're already on Medicare and you're looking at to potentially make a switch. Maybe you are utilizing a supplement and you just saw a really hefty price increase and you want to know a little bit about what all these zero premium plans are about. Listen in, because we're talking about, one of the top insurers, not only in the St. Louis metro area, but in the country. And they made some pretty significant changes like many of the insurers have. So Frank's here to continue to dive into those changes. We're going to, every single week of open enrollment, we're going to focus on some things that we've seen, trends, and the new plans. Frank's spent some time this morning talking about that Anthem leaving the, Mercy leaving the Anthem network and being able to find Mandy and Scott better dental, better coverage for their prescriptions, and getting those doctors back in the network.
Keeping those doctors, that's right. How important is that, for folks to be able to keep their doctors under these plans?
Yeah, and on that doctor's note, we did get one really great text question. Do doctors generally participate in all Advantage plans offered by one insurer?
Generally, yes. So, for instance, United Healthcare has 17 different plans in the market, and frankly, most people are on 3 of those plans, but they offer 17, and most doctors and hospitals will accept all 17 of those plans. You may have a handful, that accept 13 or 15, however many,
right.
But for the most part, yes, they'll accept all the plans by one insurer.
So it's a good rule of thumb that if you're already using a particular insurer, your physicians are in the network, that you shouldn't have much trouble transitioning amongst another plan. I think 2 things I would point out is, one, you always want to double check. Just make sure you know what you're getting into. That's
right.
Part of what Frank does. And then secondly, for some insurance companies, especially if you are using, and this is less of an issue now because many of the HMOs have gotten away from the referral requirement, but if you happen to be using a Medicare Advantage plan that still requires a HMO, it still requires a referral, you want to make sure your primary care doctor is listed as a primary. And then the final thing is, even though it's not a huge issue now, if your primary care doctor is not listed as a primary, then when you go in and see them, you don't get the zero primary copay. You got to pay whatever the specialist copay is to visit with them. Now, in most cases, Frank, we're talking about between $20 and $40 for a specialist. Is that right? This upcoming year?
Yes.
So we're not breaking the bank, but if you could get it at no cost, why would you pay?
That's right. That's right.
So there are some nuances that you do want to check on, but, to Frank's point, in general, you should be okay.
$25 for a specialist visit on the ST3, and ST4, again, the one with the 4,000 dental, $35 to visit that specialist.
Okay, so, and this is another good example. We pointed out the differential in the max out-of-pocket is about $500 more to get better dental. It's $10 more to see your specialist in that trade-off. So I think this is another great example of how insurance companies modify their own expenses, which is they're going to have to recoup something from you in one way or another. So it's all about, we like to look at it from the other side. What are you recouping from them? We knew Mandy needed the dental, so taking a little bit higher of those other benefits is okay in her situation. But I've already heard from 2 or 3 clients this year that they're thinking about knee surgery next year.
Yeah.
So then dental becomes less of an issue, right?
That's
now we're
right.
thinking max, we're thinking expenses on visits to the doctor, x-rays, labs, MRIs. Physical therapy, excellent point, Rob. These are you're in usage benefits now. So we want to focus on that versus a dental.
Yep. So the copay for let's just say it's outpatient surgery. I think with the knee replacement,
I think it's 1 day in the hospital.
Is it 1 day in the hospital? Yeah, 1 to a couple days in the hospital. So we start off with the outpatient, $240 under the ST3 and $325 under the ST4.
So again, relatively small variation. You're still protected by the maximum out of pocket on both of these policies, but that would be a decision point. Probably, you and Mandy could run the numbers where it's like she needs the knee replacement and the dental. Maybe the ST4 still makes sense.
Still comes out ahead. That's right. So then after the outpatient, if it is inpatient, you just take that same number. So again, $240 on the ST3, and then you just say per day for the first 7 days is what she would pay for inpatient hospital. Anything after day 7 is going to be $0 copay. Awesome. And then the same thing for the ST4. It's set up a little bit differently, but it is per day, and it's 8 days instead of 7 days, $325 per day.
All right, so you can see that there's no wonder United has 17 different options because they have slight variations amongst all of them. And thank goodness you have someone like Frank, or maybe you're working with someone like Frank, so you don't have to know the nuances of all 17 policies. And that's why for all of our current clients and all prospective clients, we always ask for a medical questionnaire we provide. It's one sheet. Just ask, who are your physicians, what are your prescriptions, and tell us anything that you would like us to know. I've got it, I've had a med I haven't been able to fill because it's too expensive. I think I need a knee surgery. I've been having issues with my eyes. Whatever the case is, then that way, while you were sitting with Frank, not only did he see this information before you even came to the office, but he can tailor one of those 17 plans. Or I believe, aren't there over 100 plans in the St. Louis metro area available for people to choose from?
There are so many plans that it just doesn't make sense why they offer all of these plans. And again, most people are on the same 5 plans in the St. Louis area. Aetna, United, maybe a couple Anthem, Essence. But I mean, there are those options out there. All of those plans, they're still the old style plans out there where you're making a premium on some sort of plan, a monthly payment on some sort of plan. So really it would have to just make incredible sense for us to suggest something like that, because
it's more of an outlier.
Yeah, exactly. But there are options out there for folks.
All right, let's hit, Frank, before we get to the text questions, which are continuing to come in, I just wanted you to spend a little bit of time and talk about, for everybody that is on the United Healthcare policy, they might be familiar with the rewards program, but for everyone that might be considering United Healthcare, maybe they've been, every insurer has a rewards type program or programs. They all vary slightly, but United does a nice job, so I wanted you to spend some time and give people an update on what that is going to look like next year. Absolutely.
So United does a fantastic job with their rewards program. So you can earn up to $155, and you download the app, and you're able to spend that money just like a Visa at the store. Whoever accepts Visa, you can use that. So you can earn up to $155 in rewards by doing your annual wellness check, being physically active.
Isn't it like you check in at the gym a certain number of times?
That's correct.
There's a certain number of steps, maybe, if you have a little pedometer thing.
Exactly. And what you'll want to do is you'll want to go to the My UHC app, and you'll want to click on those rewards, and they'll show you all the ways that you can start adding up that $155.
Is that an annual dollar amount they are able to achieve?
That is.
Is this is the United app? Is that where everything is housed? Like, for example, if you walk into Walgreens and you want to look at the over-the-counter benefits and you want to start scanning things, is that also inside of the same app?
That is the My UHC app, and it is very, very good. They've done a fantastic job of this app. You're able to check those claims. So if you have any claims out there, you can just download the app and take a look right at it on your phone. Track your dental.
It'll track your max out of pocket
out of pocket for you. So it's a very good app. Order your over-the-counter items, which I always suggest people do. Instead of going in the store, I suggest doing it online, because oftentimes you'll find a lot more options of stuff online than if you were to go to the store and see those shelves empty.
So if you like an app and that's obviously not a reason to choose a health plan. However, if everything else fits for you, doctor's prescriptions and the like, I think United has made things incredibly user-friendly to access their benefits, and that gives me hope that all of the insurance companies are eventually going to start following suit in that same endeavor and make access to your extra benefits a little bit easier every single year. And so this is a pretty cool additional program. So that $155 is on top of everything else.
That's
it's
right.
on top of the over-the-counter. It's on top of the dental. It's on top of the vision and the hearing and everything else that United offers.
That's right. These are rewards that you are earning, and it's real cash.
That's very cool. So just like, people always ask, especially if they've come from larger companies and as they're retiring, that there were wellness programs at work. I can reduce my premium, or I can get dollars for doing things. Medicare really didn't have that in the past. United is kind of, I think, really the leader on this side of things, creating a wellness program, so they are going to pay you to be healthy in retirement.
Very good. And also, this is not a sort of thing to where they're limiting you to healthy foods or utility bill or gas at the pump. This is $155 to spend on wherever Visa is offered. You have the capability of spending that.
So you could go eat some lunch after your... Okay, very cool.
Yep.
So this isn't like you get $155 to go towards your over-the-counter benefit. This is cash in your pocket. But
that's right.
This is cash in your Visa pocket.
That's right.
All right, Rob, hit us with, not us, hit Frank with some of these text questions.
Our first texter writes, does AARP United Healthcare Plan have silver sneakers?
So Silver Sneakers is the gym membership, and yes, United Healthcare has its own form of Silver Sneakers. I believe Erin actually mentioned this a little bit earlier on the show, but it's called Renew Active. So in your plan, when you're looking at your summary of benefits or explanation of benefits, you will not see it listed as Silver Sneakers. You'll see that listed as Renew Active, and it's an incredible program.
It's a fancy one.
It's a fancy one.
That's the one that gives you access to lifetime if you want, right?
That's right. That's right. And other of those more top tier, what I call them, gyms. The Villages, the J, that's covered as well. DePere is covered as well. They have a really nice gym. So,
they do. The Lodge of DePere is very nice.
So it's an incredible program.
So again, not a reason to choose a health plan. However, there isn't a difference in the base of Silver Sneakers and Renew Active. They're both your gym membership access. However, they do have different gyms available on those policies. So if you are dedicated to a specific gym and you'd like to be able to get, access for it no cost to you, then make sure that you're looking at the differences between those gyms.
And our next texter writes, good morning. I've listened to you talk about the coming changes to Medicare that are rolling out next year. I am concerned about the price increases to the Medicare supplement. I've never had an Advantage plan. I've only ever used a supplement, nor have I ever used an agent to help me select a plan. Having said that, how much does a coaching session with Frank cost, and when is the best time to schedule an appointment?
Man, I love that.
Frank, what do you charge?
What's the fee here? So we get paid directly from the insurance company, so any sort of consultation that we do is absolutely free of charge, no charge necessary whatsoever.
And I like what Rob says about this. I think it costs you not to have a conversation because there's no obligation when you sit down with Frank, especially to our texter that's been utilizing a supplement. Why not sit down and hear what the other side of the fence is like? What actually is Medicare Advantage? What are my costs going to look like if I were to make that switch? You're not required to make the switch, and Frank would be here to walk you through the entire process if you decided, hey, this is something I would like to try out in 2025. You can send him an email, franklin@jblfinancial.com, or just give us a call, 314-863-0008. And the best time to call is literally right now. Kelly, our office manager, is not in the office, but when you leave a voicemail, she'll get back to you Monday because Frank's schedule's filling up. We want you to have time to chat with him and also have time to have some thought into your decision before you pull the trigger. So with all of those things in mind, dial it up, 314-863-0008, and you'll get to sit down with Frank. He'll go through all the details with you.
Yeah, I would say for that texter, if she has not had a coaching review and she's been on Medicare for a while with that supplement, she's probably had quite a few price increases. So she's probably overpaying for some insurance right now. So
and also those prescription drug plans, how much they've changed over the last several years.
Oh yeah, she's probably in a plan where she's paying probably $100 for a drug plan if she hasn't done a review in the last several years. So
if you've enrolled in a plan, unless the insurer is literally discontinuing that plan, they aren't going to suggest you make a switch, especially if you've elected a plan that they have over time. Frank just mentioned that the United Healthcare PPO, it used to be the Walgreens PPO. They've dropped that. The benefits changed slightly. That happens with every single plan. That even happens with those standalone prescription drug plans. You could be on a plan they created 10 years ago, and now it's their $100 plan, and you really need one that's only $25 a month or maybe less.
That's right.
So they're not going to call and let you know that, hey, you're overpaying for something. We've got a better option for you. But Frank is going to tell you if there's a better option out there for you, and I think he'll also let you know, like we've worked through many of our lists so far this year, when it makes sense just to stay where you are.
That's right.
No reason to make a switch. Keep them coming.
And our next texter writes, do I have to be a member of AARP to sign up for the AARP United Healthcare Advantage plan?
So not for the Advantage plan. So what that person is referring to is do they have to sign up and enroll with AARP? I think it's $12 a year or $16 a year, something very cheap. But do they have to be an AARP member in order to get a Medicare Advantage plan? You do not have to be in order to get the Medicare Advantage plan. You certainly can. Where it is required is for United Healthcare supplement. So maybe you want a plan G, or maybe you want a plan N. You want one of those Medigap plans. Then you would be required, if you do take the United Healthcare plan, to enroll in AARP, in which, in return, they give you a little bit of a discount on those monthly premiums for becoming a member with them.
And they even require that you become a member first. You have to put the AARP number on the application, as far as I remember, I think, right?
That is correct, and that still holds true.
Is there a website, Frank, that lists all of the major benefits, such as dental, over-the-counter, fitness, silver sneakers for each plan? The Medicare and You booklet doesn't list the benefits.
So, unfortunately, there is not. You would have to go to each individual insurance's website to find that information. For example, if you were on an Aetna plan, you would go to Aetna.com/Medicare, and you would be able to find that information. But there is no system out there. Like the Medicare Gov system, it comes with some limitations. It doesn't tell you the dental, the fitness, the over-the-counter, none of those extra benefits.
Right, because if you log on to Medicare.gov, you put your zip code in and you say, show me all the Medicare Advantage plans, they'll let you know that, for example, every single Medicare Advantage plan now covers silver sneakers. They're going to have like a little green check mark and it says silver sneakers, or it says renew active if it's a United plan. But they're not going to tell you the dollar amount on the dental. They're not going to tell you the dollar amount on the over-the-counter, any of the other benefits. They're just going to say those benefits exist inside of this policy. But to do a true comparison, like Frank said, you either have to pull the summary of benefits, which is located on each individual website, or you have to just go to each individual website and then they will list them there for you. So, again, this can be a daunting endeavor if you are going it on your own, which is why we always suggest that you employ the use of a professional. Do we have any more text questions for Frank?
We do. And our next texter writes, if I choose a United Healthcare plan, do I have to go to Walgreens to fill my prescriptions, or can I use a CVS?
Yes. So I think we actually touched on this earlier today, too.
It's a hot topic. People have strong opinions about Walgreens, about
and CVS. They really do.
They're like churches.
You're not just confined to go to Walgreens. You can go to other pharmacies, CVS included. Since they dropped the Walgreens name, because they weren't exclusive to Walgreens, they've opened up to other pharmacies. So you are not just confined to go to that Walgreens anymore. So if there's a more convenient pharmacy, maybe you go to Mercy, maybe you go to Deerberg's, and you can just step in a Mercy pharmacy, or maybe you go to Schnucks and you want to go to CVS, you can now under these plans.
And is there a price difference?
So since they're all in network and they're not preferred pharmacies, you'll find very small price differences.
Oh, so this is great. Okay, I'm glad that you clarified that, because I didn't even totally pick that up, which is United's moved away from the preferred pharmacies model, and now as long as you use it in network pharmacy, you may see price differences because of each retailer differential, but you're not going to see a static price difference. Like, for example, Aetna still uses a preferred pharmacy model, so you use CVS, you get the better price. You use other in-network pharmacies, you get a preferred price, but it's not the best possible price. So I've got another text question here. Rob, do you have any more?
I have one more.
Okay, let me hit Frank. Let me hit you. Ooh, let me hit you with this one first, and then we got a book coming in.
Looked like a story came in there.
Yes. What advantages do I get by enrolling in United Healthcare Medicare Advantage with you, Frank, versus going directly to United?
Woo! That's a loaded question.
Well, you get the pleasure of Frank's company for at least an hour.
You get the best tasting coffee in all of it.
There we go. We got
snacks.
The best tasting coffee. That's right. Snacks, a nice little office for you, big screens. Really, what it comes down to is knowledge. Knowing these plans inside out, not just one market, multiple markets, multiple insurance companies. Knowing the intricacies of these plans. When you're talking to people on the phone, I used to do this for a company in Kansas City before I moved back here to St. Charles. And, you would just be on the phone and just trying to sell a plan. You didn't really understand all the details that go into these plans, all of the extra benefits that you have, how to use these benefits. So that's really what you're getting with us. We know this market. We know how these plans work. And we just know our stuff when it comes to this.
I agree with that. And then the last thing I would say is you also have assistance. So that means not just in the enrollment part of things, but if something comes up, you're confused, or you just, Frank, you told me this 6 months ago. I can't remember what you said. Frank's actually still going to be there, sitting at the same desk he was at when he first met with you. You'll be able to call him, ask him questions about your plan. If a claim comes up, you need help with it, Frank will be there to assist you with that. So we're not just point of service. You don't just call us to help you with that transition onto Medicare or with your annual review of Medicare. Frank will be here along the way, and he'll also be there the next year when we're reviewing those policies. How'd the plan work? Maybe we can do something better. And if you go directly to one of these insurance companies, they're only going to tell you about their plans. Frank's going to be able to talk about everything that can be bought or, almost everything that can be purchased in Missouri or Illinois, Frank can talk about with you. So I like what you said. It comes down to knowledge. Got a few more, Frank, then we'll take our break, which is, what is the quarterly over-the-counter amount allowed by United Healthcare this upcoming year?
So several different options. So again, they have 17 different plans. So these are going to be a little bit different. But on the ST3, that's going to be $45 over the counter per quarter.
ST3 is the $2,800 out-of-pocket max?
Correct, with $1,000 dental. The ST4 $3,300 max has $120 per quarter over the counter.
So it sounds like that ST4 is giving you a lot of extra benefits, but you're paying only a little bit more.
A little bit more on the max side.
Okay.
On the medical. And then the PPO option, the ST2, the one that used to be called the Walgreens, that one is $40 per quarter.
All right. Oh, here's a great question. They're all great questions. If I have an Advantage plan through an insurance agency, but I want to switch agents, how can the new agent get credit for my plan? I don't want the original agent to take credit for the plan. I'm not changing the plan, just the agent.
So I've gotten this several times throughout my career here at JBL, and really we can't do anything until we write new business. So that agent will continue to remain the agent of record. They will continue to get paid until another agent writes you new business. They used to let agents do that
in the past,
switch people, but it turned into the wild, wild west. So to protect agents, to protect, someone like myself that does this, you would need to write the new business.
So in order to change your relationship, you will have to make a change to your plan. But I think Frank would agree, that's not a reason to change your plan. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if you like the way that Frank discusses Medicare, you'd like to hear a little bit more from him, he'll review your current coverage. If it makes sense for you to stay where you are, then you started the relationship with Frank, which is great. You'll receive our emails in the future about when it's time to do reviews. And in the event that it makes sense for you to make a change, Frank will be there to help you do it, or any other agent that you might consider working with. I can't speak to how they conduct business, though. I could just say that Frank's happy to start relationships with people, and when it's time to make a change, then the relationship just grows from there.
Absolutely. And one thing I'm not going to do is just put you in a plan just to put you in it, just so we can put our name on it. It's got to make sense. And when the time is right, we'll make that change.
One last question, and of course, it's an Aetna question.
All right.
If I am on an Aetna plan, do I still have time to buy a Fitbit and get reimbursed before December 31st?
Oh, yes, absolutely. If you're on an Aetna plan that has the fitness allowance inside of the plan, then yes, you can use that fitness allowance all the way up until December 31st.
And the one last thing I'll say before we take our break, because we're running up against the time here, is that you can submit the claim after December 31st. You just have to have the receipt from before December 31st. So spend the money this year. You can still submit early next year if you don't have time. We're going to take our last break of the hour and be right back to wrap everything up before Mizzou pregame starts.
You're selling your home, and I want to buy it. This is Mike Robinson with Robank Properties, and I am ready to pay top dollar for your home. No contingencies, no inspections, no monkey business. I buy your home no matter the condition or location, and you walk away with cash. Call me, Mike Robinson, at 314-283-0867, 314-283-0867, or at robankproperties.com. That's ROBANG properties.com.
This is Erin and Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Got it. Welcome back, everyone. Sorry, we were distracted by our very last text question that came in. Tell everyone to get a Garmin instead of a Fitbit. The app is so much more reliable, and they are roughly the same price. I made the switch. Love mine. Maybe get both if you have more fitness allowance left on that Aetna. Rob, I know there's one last text question. Let's hit it in the last few seconds.
Does the United Healthcare Advantage plan cover cleanings?
The dental with United Healthcare has a $0 copay for cleanings, x-rays, and fillings. So that means that part of that $4,000 that Mandy is getting for dental, if she just goes and gets her cleaning and an x-ray or a filling, it's not going to go against that $4,000.
Fantastic. Thanks for coming in this morning, Frank. I know we'll be talking about another insurance company next week. And for everyone else, please enjoy Mizzou pregame, and we will see you next week.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Be listening next week at 9. If it's soccer in St. Louis, It's talked about on the soccer voice in St. Louis.
The Big 550
KTRS.
St. Louis.
Get in the game and closer to the action. Come wager on all your favorite pro and college football teams all season long at FanDuel Sportsbook and Horse Racing in Collinsville, Illinois. Baseball playoffs, pro hockey, and NBA will be here before you know it. Come watch all the action on more than 25 large-screen televisions, relax in the abundance of theater-style seating, and enjoy ice-cold beverages all season long. At FanDuel Sportsbook and Horse Racing,